And I'm
Okay, so Liat,
gonna,
I'm gonna just stop my video during the class. I feel more comfortable that way.
that is
But I'll still be
perfectly,
here. I'll still be
that is
here.
fine. We'll start with our mascot for the evening, which I always say, me being from Philadelphia, this is me being a traitor when I show this mascot, because since the little one is from Texas and she brings over her Cowboys bear for me to show. But in good spirits, when she brings a mascot, I must show. And honestly, right now, for me, this represents the innocence of the world, and we need a little bit of that. If you're watching virtually, sometime later, the world is on fire in the United States. Lots going on. So, if you watch this video down the road, that will explain some of why the readings are the way they are. And I didn't mention props, so we'll go there. So for those joining, anything that you want that's good for you to put your hands on to stabilize yourself. I have a pot and a large Tupperware here. It could be stacks of books, but those slide a little bit. And if you want anything to cushion the knees, like a blanket or a big towel, and that can double for you to sit up on. So all of that being said, I think, I thought COVID was going to be the toughest thing that I ever dealt with in trying to figure out how to bring a class to you guys. And by the way, my name is Liat, if anybody joins and doesn't know who I am in the virtual land. But the happenings in the United States right now have just, I don't think I'm speechless. I think I have so much to say that the other side of me ends up a little quiet, which those who know me will be shocked by. So tonight, I didn't offer a playlist because I actually want you to be very present in your bodies. I don't want you to be floating away. I don't want you to be out and about. I want you to feel everything, because there are people that are around us that don't have the option not to feel. They are forced every day to feel their fear, their anger, their disappointment, their frustration. And we all have the right color of skin that gives us pause and time and privilege. And for those people, or the people that are present in front of me now, if you're coming later virtually and I don't know you, that might not be the case. And that matters. So I want us to at least own the fact that sometimes we have to go a little deeper because we have a pause. And sometimes it can be overwhelming and frustrating because we don't know what to do, or we don't know where to start, or maybe protesting in the streets is not our deal, and you know what, that's okay. So listen. So listen, maybe go out and buy a book that can educate you a little more on what's happening in our communities today, because it's all of our communities. And then the other thing that I want to bring is a Hawaiian chant. So as you settle in here, find some breath, take a deep inhale. Hi, Jo Marie, thanks for joining. Sending love and light your way.
Hi, sweetheart. Nice to see you.
I can't think of another better person to have on this journey tonight than you.
Thank you. I feel the same. I need you tonight.
I feel like we all need each other. I feel like if people aren't here, they're out protesting.
Yeah.
So we'll send some safe love and light to those people.
Indeed.
There's an old Hawaiian prayer that I want to bring in as you settle in. And I have to call my friend in Hawaii. One of my closest friends lives there, and I should have called her first to make sure I pronounce it right. But Ho'oponopono is basically a prayer. It's a very important prayer in that word. It has 4 steps to it. And The 4 steps are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it is supposed to go back through time, not just this lifetime, but if you have done wrong, if your ancestors have done wrong, if you, stepped on somebody's something and then, it made their wall fall down 1,000 years ago, this prayer, this chant travels back through time to help heal, help ask for forgiveness. And I believe in the power of that type of energy. So as you settle in, we can say that. And it can just be a general idea of healing. So you can say Ha'ponoponopono. You can chant the 4 statements, whatever feels organic to you. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. This is a very difficult, fiery time, but sometimes it takes the fire to burn down the old, to bring in the new, and to make it better. So a lot of what I'll talk about tonight is what we can send out. It's actually also about bringing in that anger that is righteous anger, that is anger for social justice, the anger that tells us from right for wrong. Not a place to be violent, not a place to be vicious, not a place to be aggressive, but a place that allows us to understand our appropriate boundaries. And if we're showing up here, I've always said that if you're stepping into this space onto your mat, then you are part of the healers of the world. And changing your energy allows to help change other people's. Now that I've talked a lot at you, find another breath. Take an inhale. Let it go. Begin to notice what you feel in the body. A lot of people this week have talked about the pain they have in their neck out of nowhere or their low back, the weight of the world. Somebody said today that the low back pain can be not being supported. If you have pain down there, you start bringing in ideas of how you are supported. I mentioned that through the practice tonight. So notice how you feel. Maybe you feel a little out in the ether. Maybe you feel fiery from all the emotions. Maybe just when you thought you had a hand on a pandemic, something new was arising in our life. Just respecting the fact that life is ever changing. And while we don't have full control over everything, we have the ability to control how we react. There are pieces that we can get a handle on. Find the breath again. Take an inhale. Release it out. Come to the mind. Maybe it's spinning, maybe it's cloudy, maybe it's heavy, maybe it feels thick. Maybe even your mind feels fiery tonight, not just your body. But inviting in on this next round of breath, going down in the mind. Take a deep inhale. Release it out. And then come to the heart space. As we set intention for ourselves, like to send out intention for others. intention for them to be safe, to be cared for, to find strength. An intention for the world to begin to change where it needs to and heal where it needs to. Breathe your intention in through this heart space. Allow it to weave through this heart energy. Anahata chakra, glowing with its green love light, even fear for balance, and just let it build. Let your intention grow. And we'll take a collective breath for intention here. Take that deep inhale. Release it out. Give yourself 3 more rounds of breath, soft and light, bringing in or letting go anything that you might need. And when you're ready, slowly come back. No rush. So our first shape is going to be butterfly. And this is one of those places where you might grab a blanket to sit up on the edge just to help tilt your pelvis forward. So soles of feet will come together. Tonight, have the heels as close to you as possible. And again, sitting up on that blanket or a towel or even a low pillow to help allow the pelvis to shift forward so that this isn't the fold, but you're actually shifting forward from the hips. And then you can take anything that you want. You can bring one of those trusty fun props if you're stealing them from the kitchen like I am. Put the elbows on them. You could hold the forehead and the heels of the hands. You could have stacks of books and do the same. You can also just fold, have nothing under the forehead. So finding whatever feels okay for you. I always forget to mention the chat box at the bottom. If you're having any questions about the shape and you need some different instruction, feel free to hit the chat box or even just unmute yourself. So gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. If you're having too much sensation in your hips and you need to prop up anything under the thighs and the knees, you can also do that. Some of the readings will be a little longer than normal, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So this is from Meditations from the Mat by Rolf Gates, who is an African-American yoga instructor who I like to think of as a modern day guru in America in terms of what he brings and offers of his insights, because they're more relatable to things that people might be going through in the modern age. And when something feels unobtainable, like the ideas in the Yoga Sutras, and having trouble relating it back to your life, sometimes a modern day writer can help bridge that gap. And I believe he's one of those people. If you do what you did, you get what you got. Anonymous. The Yoga Sutras lay out 2 aspects of spiritual practice: abhyasa, practice, and Viraja, non-attachment or renunciation. Over 2,000 years later, the notions of practice and renunciation are reflected in 12-step adage. If you do what you did, you get what you got. Renunciation on its own has no staying power. You can renounce bananas all you like, but if you continue to live in your banana home and your banana street, if you keep your job at the banana warehouse and hang out with your banana gobbling friends, you'll be eating bananas before you know it. Practice is doing the work. It is following up your intention with action. Many of us attend a few yoga classes and find that we like the glimpse of another way of life that yoga offers. We are delighted by the way we feel after class, and we are pleasantly surprised as certain behaviors start to fall away. Perhaps we no longer need coffee in the morning, or staying out late at night becomes less attractive, or we find ourselves calmer and more compassionate. Suddenly, we're convinced that we're hit upon a painless way to solve all our problems. Sadly, this is not the case. Practice is not a substitute for the difficult work of renunciation. The postures and breath work that you do in a typical yoga class will change your life. These practices, asana and pranayama, suffuse us with the energy we need to take on the hard choices and to endure the inevitable highs and lows. What yoga practice will not do, however, is take the place of the hard lessons each of us has to learn in order to mature spiritually. Renunciation is the acid test. It is walking the walk. A number of my students come to yoga with issues concerning food and body image. Some binge, some starve, some purge, some do all of the above. Some just obsess to the point that it blocks their personal growth. In each case, there needs to be an ending and a new beginning. The old behavior must be faced and renounced. Yoga practice is not a substitute for that all-important process, but it does support us as we make a commitment to change. Once we take the first step of renunciation, our practice nourishes and sustains us as we are reborn. Practice without renunciation is avoidance. Renunciation without practice is not long-lived. Together, practice and renunciation make all our dreams possible. And I think at this moment in time, those ideas can be taken into the larger world of renunciating a poorly structured dynamic that we're living in and finding a new way. And again, maybe coming back to the practice as a way to help us get through the harder choices that we have to face outside. The back body opens here, breathe into that back heart space. Allow it to open a little more, even during a time where it feels like it should be closed. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Finding your way up from this shape, bringing feet a little more than hip width apart. You can drop the knees side to side. Even find a little bit of a twist. Whatever feels good and organic. You could do a seated cat-cow. You could come to hands and knees and do a full cat-cow. So whatever feels good for you and your body. And then pause. And just notice when you're ready what has come up. And we look at these things without judgment. And slowly coming back, we'll find our next shape. And this is where it would be helpful to have those props at the front of the mat. We're going to find dragon pose, yes, your favorite. So if you have cranky knees, like me, we're going to start with the right foot forward, left knee back. So you can cushion the right shin, the left shin. Right foot comes forward as we sink down. If you find that you come forward and you feel like you have more room, but you're stuck, I'll show it from front. If you find that you're stuck, scoochie the foot out to the side to see if you have more room to sink down, because you might hit a place where it's bone on bone and you're not going to move anymore. So move the foot out to the side. That back knee, once again, can get cushioned with a blanket. And this one's fiery, and it's meant to be. And again, we're not doing music tonight, so that you can be present, so that you can be in the body, so you can feel the fire. I want you to feel the full extent of these things that might be more emotional than you think. Because sometimes people don't have a choice, right? And we have a choice tonight. So pushing that idea to the edge. And with fire, maybe you come to a place where you come back to that anger, maybe even feeling rage lately. And anger without aggression is one of the most potent emotions on the planet. And that is that emotion that can fuel social justice movements. And have some pieces of Martin Luther King's speech. And we'll see how much I can get through. So this is his letter from Birmingham jail, and it's written April 1963, dear fellow clergymen. And again, it's clips from the letter, because the letter is long. And they're asking him, or they made statements about why he's in Birmingham. More basically, I'm in Birmingham because injustice is here. So I am compelled to carry out the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow provincial outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds. Just pausing there for a moment. Coming to that idea, if your heart hurts tonight as you come into class and yet nothing has gone wrong in your own life, it's because we have a shared experience. In 1997, there was an experiment conducted where a very large group of people gathered in DC for some transcendental meditation. And the police chief at the time had said it would take a miracle to lower the crime that was going on. And the meditation went on for days. And I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but I think maybe even up to like 800 people joined. And the crime wave lowered. The energy from that meditation, you can go with or without thinking that it had an effect. So it might be small in numbers this evening, but I encourage you to not feel hopeless or helpless, but to feel like you are capable of sending out heartfelt energy to help heal, to help care, to help promote the idea of change, to knowing that there will be places where you can be a part and help as this world shifts and changes. As we renounce the old and bring in the new. And in my hope and in my utopia, it's something better for everybody. Are you feeling fire here? Do you feel a little bit of that anger? Maybe you feel that fire and you can feel fiery hope. You can let that build. And maybe that can be your fuel to help you get through this very unusual time. We're living it all right now. All the pieces coming together. I'll wait to continue this speech for the other side. Using that breath. Can you sink just a little deeper? And is this different from any other night you've ever been in this shape? Just noticing for a moment. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Releasing from this side. Let the right knee join the left, finding the movement in the hips, maybe some cow and cat, maybe you need a child's pose, maybe you even need a flow. I'm going to just give you 3 rounds of breath and we're going to move to the other side. So inhale, exhale for 1. Inhale, exhale for 2. Inhale, exhale for 3. And the fun begins all over again. Side number 2. You could be an octopus, so be grateful. All right, left foot comes forward. Again, we're finding that first point of resistance. You can place that blanket underneath the back knee. And if you find a place that you come to and you feel like you stop, but you have more space, scoochie the foot out to the side and see if you can sink down a little deeper. You'll love me for that, I guarantee it. And gather the breath deeply. And release. Inhale once again. And let go. Coming back to Martin Luther King's speech. You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I'm sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. I am sure that none of you would want to rest content with the superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternative. In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps: collection of the facts to determine whether injustices exist, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. We have gone through all these steps in Birmingham. There can be no gainsaying the fact that racial injustice engulfs this community. Birmingham is probably the most thoroughly segregated city in the United States. Its ugly record of brutality is widely known. There is unjust treatment in the courts. On the basis of these conditions, Negro leaders sought to negotiate with the city fathers, but no latter consistently refused to engage in good faith negotiation. So pausing once again, it felt eerie to read so many of the pieces that he wrote and to feel that they represented exactly what we were going through today. And when did I say that was from? 1963. So again, that idea of facing the harder times, the harder choices, and not being complacent with what happens around us, not in our own lives and not for those around us. So making those fiery choices of where we can stand as we see things going on, maybe changing what we know, expanding our own knowledge, our minds. You don't have to be the person that's going to go protest on the street. You could buy a book to deepen your own awareness, your own knowledge. And I know I don't usually preach at you, but this is important stuff. And as other readings stated, if it affects one person, it affects us all. If you feel unsettled, if your body hurts more than it usually does, it affects us all. And we can bring in the idea of hope, but we cannot bring in that idea of hope without cultivating what we need to affect that change. Again, going back to being that renunciate of what's not working on that deeper action. And here comes the fun moment. Can you sink any deeper? Are you using the breath? Do you need to pause and come out from a moment and come back in to find that next place that you can actually sink in this shape? Rumi writes, being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Finding your way out of the side, you can find a tabletop, you can do a cow and cat, you can do a flow, you could find a child's pose. What do you need to organically release from this side? And then we'll take our longer pause here. So once you've found those organic movements, just take a moment to settle And just notice what has come up. Maybe it's something in the body, maybe it's something in the mind, maybe nothing at all. Maybe you're just existing through these places one at a time. Without judgment, just becoming aware. And then slowly begin to come back. Our next shape is going to be either frog or the wide-legged child's pose. So I'll show you the wide-legged child's pose first. So big toes will touch, knees go wide, and you can come down onto the earth. If you need a little lift, you could drape the arms over just even a blanket, have it under the torso. You could prop the forehead up, but working on getting into that groin area. If you want to do the frog, then shins are coming straight out from the knees, and the knees are right out from the hips. And I'm not saying this well. And then there's a 90-degree angle from the knee to the foot. You got it, I hope. You can also do that against the wall. And bringing the feet parallel to the floor and keeping the groin in line with the knees. Again, working on feeling that sensation in the groin. So finding whichever shape works best for you. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Martin Luther King. We, unaccustomed to courage, exiles from delight, live coiled in shells of loneliness, until love leaves its high holy temple and comes into our sight to liberate us into life. Love arrives, and in its train come ecstasies, old memories of pleasure, ancient histories of pain. Yet we are bold. Love strikes away the chains of fear from our souls. We are weaned from our timidity in the flush of love's light. We dare be brave, and suddenly we see that love costs all we are and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free. Maya Angelou. As you fold here, I don't often talk meridians much anymore, but getting into the liver meridian as we're working on these groin areas, that can hold your dream and your vision, not just your anger. So if you could dream of something, you could envision something, bring that in. What would that be? If it could be everything you wanted, what would you see here? Can you let that energy pour into that idea for something new? Is there a school where Perseverance teaches classes? I want to meet him face to face and see what he looks like. I've heard so much about him. Not that I want his feedback. I'm sure he would tell me to keep working. I already know that. Not just me either. Offhand, I can name at least 3 friends who are curious as I am. One is a scholar, one is a writer, and the third is a young parent. I would write Perseverance a letter inviting him to come out here and teach at the neighborhood school. No one around here knows where he lives or how to find him. I read somewhere that they were trying to hire him to co-host a PBS series on the creative process. He would have none of it, because he is shy in front of cameras. Truth is, he turns down all offers which distract him from his work. You send that breath through sensation. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. When ready, releasing from this pose, maybe finding yourself in a downward dog or a cow and cat or a flow. Maybe you just need a regular child's pose, releasing the arms over the thighs. So finding whatever organic release your body needs. And then pause. Notice what is shifted, what is arising. Notice without judgment. And when you're ready, slowly come back. You're going to come into starfish. So you'll lay flat on your belly. Bring the right arm out in a T. And then the left hand comes by the chest. And then you'll roll onto the side. And you can bring foot to the earth. You can have the back of the hand on the earth. You can bring the other hand around if that's available. You do not move the bottom arm to find the top one. You can bring both feet to the earth. You can also do this against the wall. You can have the arm more at an angle. It doesn't have to be straight out. So if you need to angle it more, feel free, as in angle it up instead of have it in the T. So finding any variation, and again, you can also do this where you just bring the arm to the wall. The side of body is against the wall. Arm could be at an angle or out in that T. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhaling once again and let go. Working here on the heart, the lungs, the pericardium. What do you need to hold in your heart? You need to come back to that intention. We need to come back to our prayer of Pono, Pono, Pono. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Maybe just taking the time here to say that, send that out to anybody who we've ever harmed, who we need to ask forgiveness from. This is supposed to be a deeply healing chant, deeply healing prayer. Again, traveling back through time, not just the lifetime we've lived here, but anything that has been done by our ancestors to somebody else, to somebody else, to somebody else. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Do not ignore it. You were told to heal, and you promised yourself you will take the time. But healing cannot happen by ignoring the heart and soul that is still writhing in pain. The neglect will cause the healing to come to a halt. Tend to the pain. Nurture your heart as it has a good cry. Wrap it up in a blanket and rock it to sleep while telling it a bedtime story if you have to. But do not ignore it. Acknowledge the hurt, and from there, you can get through it together. Alpha. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Using that hand that's on the earth to support you as you roll back, releasing the outstretched arm. You can just roll shoulders around slightly, and then you're going to come to the other side. So right hand by the chest, left arm goes out in the T or angled, helping you to roll onto the side. A foot can come to the earth with the knee to the sky. Both feet could come to the earth with the knees to the sky. Whatever feels available to you. Then gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Nelson Mandela writes, 1964 April. During my lifetime, I've dedicated myself to the struggle of the African people. I've fought against white domination, and I've fought against Black domination. I've cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. Important ideas. And in each one of these leaders struggling against intense, overwhelming odds, underlying all of it, you will still find the faith that people can come together on a level of harmony and being together and equality. That is hope. It's not only anger that fuels social justice, but there is an idea of hope for a better life. So breathe that in, send it out with some love, send it out with some healing energy. Because if we can help ourselves heal, we can help others heal. And I always believe those who step on the mat can help everybody they come into contact with. Better energy, healing energy, with love, with light. And that might sound airy-fairy, but if you feel better, you're just going to make somebody else feel better. And I hope that's why you come here. Find a way to help you feel better than when you sat down on your mat. Clear out some of what's feeling heavy and hard. I don't expect you to show up with rainbows and unicorns. But hopefully we can clear out some of what isn't working, what doesn't serve you, what feels heavy, what is causing the heartache. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Begin to roll back on the front of the body. You can release in any way. You can just roll the shoulders around. You can starfish your arms and legs. You can roll right onto your back if you'd like and start hugging the knees into the chest. Whatever feels like a good organic release to you. And when you're ready, we're all going to meet on our backs. So I'll give you a few rounds of breath to just pause here from this shape, from working on the heart, sending out some of that healing energy and forgiving energy. And when you're ready, find your way to the back again, taking a few rounds of breath, no rush. And then coming to the back, if you have that stack of books, we're going to find bridge pose. It won't be for too long. So bring the feet to the earth. You're going to grab your stack of books. Not going to bring them all over. Lift the hips. Bring the books underneath the sacrum, not the fleshy part of the tush, and not that curve of the low back. And the stack can be as high as you like. If you want to try to extend the legs long on the earth, you can. That usually feels better the higher the stack is or the block is, or is more accessible, might be a better way to say it. And gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Heart is open here. So what have we missed? What do you need to bring in for your heart space, for you tonight? Hopefully, I've sent out some pieces that allow us to help others to heal the energy that we can send to them, fueling some of our love, our fire, our change. What do you need now for you? What do you need to bring in? What do you need to let go of? Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let it go. Press the feet into the earth, lift the hips, remove anything underneath the sacrum. Allow the back to come down, upper back, middle back, lower back. Hug the knees into the chest and release. Hug the knees into the chest and release. Make circles in the sacrum 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. We're just going to come to our twist on the right. So let the knees fall to the right as you open the arms in a T or cactus. Look over the left. Just going to take 3 rounds of breath here. So where are you still holding? Where is it still heavy? What do you feel in your body? Send the breath there and let it go. Take an inhale and release. Inhale again and let go. Last round. Bring the knees back up to center. Hug them in and release. Hug them in and release. Make circles in the sacrum 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. Let the knees fall over to the left, arms open out in a T or cactus, looking over to the right. Again, noticing anywhere within the mind or the body that you still feel is clenched, that you still feel is holding tightly. Sending the breath there. Take that first inhale. Push it out the body. Just let it go. Inhaling and release. Last round. Inhale. Let it all out. Beautiful, guys. Bring the knees back to center. Hug them in and release. Hug them in and release. Make any final movements you would like to make here before we set up for Shavasana. Feel free to put your legs right up the wall. It's really nice to put something underneath the knees. You can roll a blanket. You can have a pillow. You could bring the feet a little wider than the hips and let the knees knock in to support you, which can take any stress out of the low back. So finding whatever shape suits you, legs long, arms down beside you is a perfect place to be. You can cover up with a blanket. You can place an eye pillow over your eyes. And then take a deep inhale. Open the mouth, just let the air fall out. As you you settle in, allow the body to be heavy into the earth wherever you are. Just releasing everything down. Brow soften. Eyes are heavy. Tongue heavy. Mouth relaxed. If you're having a thought, let it pass. Another one sneaks in, just let it go. Enjoy these final moments, and I will call you back. Slowly begin to come back. Bring breath back into your beautiful body, joining spirit with the physical. Beginning to orient to the sounds around you, the hummings in the house or the birds outside the windows. Wiggling fingers and toes, nodding head side to side. Arms overhead for a morning stretch to bring the body back. Always an invitation to remain where you are, if where you are is divine. Ready, hug the knees into the chest, rolling over onto the right and pausing. And just knowing this is a place of beginnings. All things from this moment forward are possible. Ready, finding your way up to seated, closed eyes, soft gaze, reclosing them once there. Just noticing here what has shifted, what has changed. Hopefully we filled what was empty and emptied what was full. Coming back to hands at heart center, Anjali Mudra or right on your chest. Feels good for you this evening. Back to that idea of hope, of healing, of love, of Ho'oponopono, sending out our prayer throughout time. And back to intention, breathing this intention through the heart space. Take a deep inhale. Open the mouth, release it out. Letting it fly off to the universe, knowing it will be heard. It's an honor and privilege to practice with you this evening. We bow our head to our hearts. Together we say, Namaste. Thank you everyone for coming. So glad you could join us live or virtually. Again, if you're joining us virtually, thank you so much for coming and being a part of our community. We're so grateful. I'm going to pause the recording.